So today I'm going to take you through Foy Vance's Be the Song. I've had a few requests for this one, and obviously it goes without saying it's a great song as well, so I thought it was worth covering. So we're going to start by looking at the melody part, then we're going to look at the bass part, and then we're going to try and put the two together. So let's kick off with the melody. So the melody part starts, basically you're using your first and second fingers on your right hand, and you are playing the second and third strings together. So your third finger wants to stay on the third fret of the second string, and it basically stays there throughout pretty much the whole tune. So you're going to play second and third together, so that's open third and second string fretted at third fret. Then you put your first finger down and play second fret on the third string. The third part, you're going to get what I call a grace note, which is where your little finger is going to hammer onto the fourth fret of the third string, like that. So you get that. So it's not a kind of, it's a grace note because it's pretty quick, essentially. Then the last part of that ascending melody is you just strike strings 4 and 3 again, getting the same note. So you're essentially getting 4th fret, 3rd string, and 3rd fret, 2nd string. Okay, so you got nil, 2 and 3, hammer onto 4, and then strike that again. So that's the first part of the melody. If you like, that's kind of the call. The response, he just comes down. Now for that, you're starting where you finished the first phrase, which is kind of little finger on 4th fret, third finger on 3rd fret, and you start with the grace note, right? So he goes, so you have to take your little finger off and hammer on. Then the second part of that melody, you take your little finger off altogether and have the 2 and the 3. Notice how my first finger is already rooted at 2nd fret. So we're coming down, grace note, 2 and 3. First finger off, which gives you 0 and 3, 0 on the 3rd string, 3 on the 2nd string. And then he usually kind of, to finish it off, hits the open third. So you get to the descending part of the melody is... Okay, so all together we've got going up. Okay, and then coming down we've got... Now my advice for you on that first bit would be to play along with just the melody without the bass, because you've got to be really comfortable with that part in order to be able to add the bass in. So the bass part on its own is relatively straightforward, right? It's just essentially single strings, you're hitting every one of them on the beat, okay? Use your thumb for that. I'll give you the bass note. So it starts with a G, middle finger on 3rd fret, 6th string. That moves down to an E, implying an E minor. It then comes back to the G, but you go via the F sharp at 2nd fret, which I will have to talk about in a bit. So that's back to the G. Then it moves to an open A, so that's open 5th string. And then your final chord is a C, which is 3rd fret, 5th string. You know, twice round that and then back to the G. So that's all well and good. Okay, so we're now going to try to put the bass part in with the melody part. And my advice would be, before you do anything else, is try just doing this, right? So I'm not going to change the bass note. We're going to just put the melody in, and we're going to just pump the bass note on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then you've got your response. But keeping that bass going, yeah? And once you get used to it, you'll notice that melody's sort of offbeat, right? So you're kind of playing melody and bass notes. So I'm going to play that a couple of times just so you can get it in your ears, and make sure you try that before you try putting it all together. So we've got a bit quicker, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. Something along those lines. Then you can feel fairly confident that it's essentially just a case then of changing the bass note with your thumb. So now I'm going to walk you through kind of more of the complete thing, right? So this is with all the bass notes. I'll go very slowly, but remember that timing. You're essentially getting 3, 4, 1, and then you're coming in on beat 2 pretty much every time, all right? Okay, so let's go for it. So you're basically coming in with the melody to start with. There's no bass note straight away. So we've got 0, melodies we discussed before, grace note, G, and you hit 2, 3, 4, 1, then the response, and then you stay on the G, okay? And then we're going to go up. Now E minor, so you can take your middle finger off, 2, 3, 4, 1, back down. Stay on the E minor. 1, 2. Now this gets a little bit complicated, okay? So he goes. So I'm going to walk you through that because that is a little bit more difficult. So when we're coming down from the E minor, we got, what are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We're going to climb up with the melody as before. But he puts an F sharp in with his thumb. Okay, he's using the thumb, second fret, 6th string. So let's see if I can do that slowly without getting it wrong. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. F sharp, hammer on as you would, stay on the F sharp, and then, and only then, do we release to the G. Okay, with our middle finger. So there's a little bit, let me play that a couple of times. So from the E minor, let me maybe come down. How about we go? E minor, 2, 3, 4, 1, back up. G, 2, 3, 4, and carry on, all right? Okay, so we come back up. 2, 3, 4, 1, same as before. Now here, so we've come up to the, we're essentially going to hit the A bass note now. So he's going to hammer, so we've got the bass comes, the melody comes down. But for the last note of this melody, you're actually going to hammer on to the 2 on the 2nd fret, the 3rd string. Again, it kind of matches the bass note. So we've got, let me slow that down. And that's where you're going to hit your open 5th A as your bass note, okay? So I'm going to come from the complicated bit. G, 2, 3, 4, melody. A, 2, 3, 4, 1, melody again. Open 3rd as you would, and then you're going to change to the C, the 3rd fret on the 5th string. 2, 3, 4, and that happens twice on the C. 2, 3. To the G. Hopefully you're getting the idea, and as ever, you know, make sure you're using your ears and using kind of the melody and the lyrics of the song to kind of guide you a little bit, because that's essentially what that melody is mirroring. So there's another kind of little twist that he adds in. You'll notice that it's not quite there yet. He's in the version that I'm talking about, he's actually adding in a lot of the time, kind of most of the time, the 4th string, right? So if I apply that, we get this. So that instantly adds a little bit more momentum, to the kind of tune. So all that's happening there with my thumb, I'm playing the 6th, and I'm using my thumb and my middle finger to play thumb on the 6th string, middle finger on the 4th string. Now that essentially carries on throughout. He's hitting it so lightly, but it just kind of helps propel it along. All right, so I'll try applying that with the 4th string, see if I can put those together. I'll do my best to commentate as I go, but bear with me. So we're coming in, so I'm just going to go 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, if you like. Same as before, it's all that's changed is you're just adding that 4th string very lightly. So there's your E minor. I might miss one there. So there's E minor, and then we're going to climb up via the F sharp. Back to the G, and then we're going to come down to the A. So there he's still just hitting kind of A, open A, very soft. Down to the C. Now this is only where it's slightly different on the YouTube version. He's playing 5, 4, 5, 3, which is quite a nice touch. So you get it's that kind of sound. So let me do that again. So we're coming from the, so there's the A, and then we go, so there's the C, so that's like 5, 4, 5, 3, 5, 3, 3, 5, 4, 5, 3, and then 5, 4, 5, 3, 5, 3, 4, 3, and then back to the G. I'm sure you can appreciate that trying to sort of commentate and play at the same time is quite difficult, but hopefully I think that gives you enough of an idea. And as ever, you know, in all of my lessons, I'm not always going to give you kind of a note for note walkthrough of everything that's going on. The important part is that you're hearing the melody, where the bass notes change, the kind of little inflections that he puts in, you know, because he's a great musician, he kind of varies it and makes it interesting. And I think that's really worth remembering when you're trying to learn something like this. So that's the main part of the tune that I really wanted to cover in this lesson. There is kind of another bit, which is really just moving between G and E minor 7. Essentially, you're holding down a G, you know, sixth string, third fret, second string, as kind of in the main part. Moving between that and an E minor 7, the right hand's just playing kind of bass note on the beat, and then the offbeat's kind of, he's kind of grabbing sort of strings, 4, 3 and 2, and you know, it's kind of improvised and he varies it. So he's kind of playing 1, 2, and it's 2 bars, right? And he moves to essentially an E minor 7. I mean, essentially you just got an open E minor chord with your third fret, third finger staying on. So we get, just to give you an idea, you get basically G, 1, 2, then it moves down to the E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and he kind of mixes up G. So that's, and this happens 3 times. This is the second time, E minor, back to the G, down, and then after the third, this is the third time, back to the E minor. He moves to the C, so that's middle, so that's third fret on the 5th string. And there's 4 bars of that, and he kind of, I think I'm on the, and he kind of increases the intensity before moving back into the main melody. So I was trying to talk and play at the same time there. It didn't quite work, but I think that should give you enough of an idea. If you're struggling to hear it, you can probably see what he's doing on the version that I suggested. So that section goes back into the melody, and then right at the end he goes back to the G to the E minor, and that just loops round, 2 bars on each chord, and you know, essentially that's how the song ends. So that's kind of all the parts of the song covered. Okay, so those are the main parts of the tune. Should give you enough information to kind of get stuck in and get learning it yourself. But if you've got any questions about any of it, do just let me know, and I look forward to seeing you next time.